But before we get too far ahead, let me start at the basics. My name's Liliana, and I'm the owner of Parcel Fiber Co. And this is a podcast about knitting and making, where you will find me never making anything and knitting here and there. And that's not entirely true. I mean, I make yarn, so I'm constantly making something. It's just that it hasn't really been project based. Like, I haven't been knitting as much because it's hard to find the time to sit and take that time for myself when there's so much going on and there's so much noise in my brain. Sometimes there's noise in the house, and well, I don't have to explain that to any of you because I'm sure you know the struggle is real. But I wanted to come on before my show, which is, I can't call it my show. Who am I? My next event, which is going to be Saturday, January 24th and Sunday, January 25th. I'll be at the Sunkissed Fiber Festival. That will be near Tampa, Florida. This is the first time that this event is taking place. So it's going to be exciting for me because I'll be vending there, and I'll be taking my camper, and I'll be outside, and I'll be doing all the usual hawking of my wares, except with the added element of being outside. So, as I say every time I go somewhere, if you can make it out there, I'd love to see you. Now, I will show some of the new things because they're so exciting. But this isn't going to be a completely businessy, look at my stuff episode. Before I get into that, I'm going to just give a little bit of high-level life update because heaven forbid I give any details. Such a mysterious person. Anyhow, let me just tell you that if I could go back in time and tell past me to sign up for these events earlier, that would have been great. So if you watched my last podcast, did you? No? My last podcast was, I think, in December, and I was talking about doing a trunk show. Since then, I did another event. I was at D-Staff Day, which is another fiber-related event, obviously. But it's kind of geared more towards spinning and weaving, and yes, there was yarn. But that was actually my first time vending at a marketplace, which gave me all kinds of feelings for a bunch of different reasons. But when I last minute said yes to that, not last minute, what had happened was I had sent out emails saying, hey, I'm interested in being a vendor if there's still space. And I heard from the Sunkissed Festival folks first. So I signed up for that. That was before Christmas. And then sometime after, I heard about there being an opening at D-Staff Day. And so I said yes. Now, at that point, D-Staff Day was like 10 days away. 15 max. And I was like, no problem. Plenty of time. It was not, in fact, plenty of time. Because and actually putting the capital A in A, ADHD. Plenty of time is an enemy. We managed. But it was such an obstacle for me to get myself completely focused to do something I'd never done before. when it was the holidays, and instead of having all these free days like I would normally have when my daughter is at school, I had her home, and my brain just wasn't braining properly. So this time we still have enough. Now I had, okay, so rewind. Now I've managed to get through the event pre-work, and then I end up at the event. And I think part of the reason I haven't been doing events is because in the back of my mind was this worry that, oh snap, I'm gonna have to do all this by myself. Can I do it? Can I make it happen? Woe is me. And I did have some big feelings about that, because yeah, I was the only one venting that was completely by themselves. Now, without diving into that, I survived it. It was okay. Nothing bad happened. And now I feel better about doing things by myself. So I'm not going to let that little nagging fear of what if something happens, because anytime that anything has happened, it has eventually been fine. So yeah. Now, heading into this next event at Sunkist, because I was a little bit late signing up, my booth is not a booth. I'll be vending outside, which is fine. I'm excited to bring my camper. That adds a little element to another thing that could go wrong, but nothing will. So I'll be prepping for that between now and next week. But it's been stressful. I've had a problem with my car since like December. The last time, coincidentally, that I took my camper and did something with it, my car battery died, and I got jumped right away. So it's not like I was struggling. But then the electrical problems with my car began, and I really didn't know how serious they would be. And to be fair, I don't know yet if they're serious. All I know is they seem to be getting worse. So I'm now going to this event not being able to repair that issue, because I've taken it to one place at least 3 times. I've taken it to the car dealership, and the only reason I didn't have the issue looked at in depth is because they said, oh, we're going to have to do like a scan of the thing, and it's got to be hooked up, and that thing can take between 24 and 72 hours. And I'm like, I simply cannot be without my vehicle for that long. Not in the week leading up to the event. So sorry for this mic scratch. So basically, we're going to an event that's about 2 hours away. I'm guessing it might be on the other side of Tampa, which would make it longer. But I'm going to this event hoping that my car remains functional. I'm hoping that I'm not having an issue where I can't start it, that I have a camper I can't tow, that I'm up shit creek, so to speak. So, yes. And then, yeah, the brain has been having issues with, I've been pushing through, and that's not a state I like to be in. I like to be in flow, not in pushing through. So, knock on wood, or some wood. Knock on wood. After the event is done and I'm back here, I will pack up all my stuff neatly and I'm going to disappear for a little while because I need my mental health back. So I feel like I could really elaborate on all that, and it's not like I'm a quiet person who's trying to keep all the details of her life to herself. I'm not that mysterious. I'm just selective about what I put online for people to consume without context. And in general, in life, I've kind of stopped giving people access to me and access to my magical mystery map. Because sometimes a lot of people want to know what's going on in my life without really being a part of it. And I'm only here for people who actually want to be in my life. I don't think that's a resolution so much as it is a point you finally get to when you're like, I ride alone a lot. So if I'm going to be riding alone through this life, then I'm only going to be sharing my life with the people who are riding along with me. I know you feel me on that. But enough of that. Enough of that little tangent about life, because it could be a TED Talk before you know it. So without further ado, I've been busy dying for this event, and I decided I wanted to try a new base because I saw something that came up, and it was new and it was too amazing not to immediately get it. So I hope that you love it as much as I do, even though the colors I've chosen are not necessarily in my wheelhouse of colors that I adorn myself with. But let me reach over here without making too much noise. I succeeded. So I'll show you the undyed beauties. So I picked up this beautiful, and I don't think you'll be able to see its sparkleness from there. Come on. Some twinkles. Come on. Don't be shy, little sparkly yarn. All right. So I have this Surrey lace, and I have this beautiful sock base. Now, of course, I'm holding this up, and because there's hardly any contrast, you can't see the sparkles. So I chose to dye this up in a kind of lighter palette. I dyed 3 new colors, and I paired it with some existing favorites. So let's see if I can hold these up in a beautiful, appealing manner. So these are the colors, and I haven't named the new ones. Here, let me organize them by new. Sorry, dogs. Okay, we're back. So about this, I'm gonna line them up in order. Well, I'll show you the new ones, which have no name. Try to move them so you see if you can get the gist of the sparkles. They actually appear better when they're not in focus. So I'll try and put some pics in. God knows there's plenty of them. I was admiring these little glittery beauties. So I just went with this palette because I thought that it would pair nicely with the iridescent sparkle that's in here. And because I also saw that they had a lace available, a Surrey lace available with the same mermaid iridescent stellina. I had to get it because half the time I'm trying to make things as fast as possible, which means I'm making things in DK weight, even though I live in Florida and the weather hardly ever lets me wear a sweater. Today it's cold, and I'm cold right now. In fact, I should be wearing a sweater, but I'm not. I have a little scarf or shawl that I'm not wearing because I forgot to put it on. But here's the Surrey. Oopsie. Here's some of the Surrey. Now this is I forgot how many yards. 300. It's the same as my existing Surrey base, which is either 357 yards or 387, something like that. These are 50-gram skeins. And I don't know, I think it's what do you think? Like I said, I'm not a pastel person, but these make me feel like I could totally be a pastel person. So as far as the colors that I have that are not new, this is Barefoot, which is a sandy little neutral. And this is Blue Hydrangea. And these three still need names, but I have a week to decide what they're going to be called. So just kidding. I don't have a week. Don't tell myself you don't have a week. This is how I get myself in trouble. No. So about these. So by the time this video is posted, because I'm not that fast to post it today. Today is Friday the 16th. Yes, the 16th. So I will work on editing now that I have to edit out the dogs, which if I did edit out the dogs, it'd be like dogs. I'll have to edit out the noise ordinance violators and list this. And of course, now I have to finish this before my battery dies because that's how life is. Anyhow, so these are going with me to the Sunkissed Festival. I want to swatch them, but since this is my first batch and I'm heading into an event, I didn't want to eat from my supply and then have less to sell. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a pre-order for this palette. Let's call it a palette because I haven't decided what I'd name this collection just yet. But for this first round of hues, and it'll be a pre-order for the Surrey base and the sock base. And even though I did not buy it yet, I'm also going to include the pre-order for the DK base and mini skeins. So if you trust me on that, You can trust that it's going to be amazing. I just need to make sure there's interest before I invest in producing the things. I think that's how they're supposed. I think that's how I'm supposed to do this business thing. I'm new to it. never gonna be a pro at it, but I just wanted to float that out there in case there was interest, that there are some other options besides the two bases that I have here. And I know there's a lot of you that primarily knit in DK, and there's a lot of you that really don't do pastels. And for that, I'm sorry that I did not include you in this first batch. I want to do a darker one, you know, like my gothic little fade with these iridescent sparkles. So that will happen with your encouragement. So if you think you want to see these in darker shades, moodier shades, let me know. But I have a feeling once you get into seeing that sparkle, you're going to understand why I picked the colors that I have picked. It's for harmony, for balance, you know, for how should I say it? I guess speaking for myself, if I'm going to be wearing a head to toe, just kidding, a decked out in double sparkle, right? I don't want my colors to be too busy, because that's me. Because then it's like busy, bright, and sparkle. It might be too much. And guess what? Oops, sorry. Very passionate. Let's break up with too muchness, shall we? Because I find myself coming back to that, oh, well, that might be too much. And I'm just like, you know, it's time to like abandon that kind of storyline where this is too much and that's too this and this is too that. Because quite frankly, if you like it, do it. If it's not hurting anybody and you enjoy it, do it. So I'm going to decide what color I'm going to pick for myself, and then I'm going to save that for later, because obviously this batch is, I'm saving it because I want there to be a full spread for the Sunkissed fiber. So there you have it. Me blathering on, using more words than necessary.
I'm sorry.
Me apologizing for blathering on excessively. Even my watch is sorry that I'm still talking. And anyways, you get the drift. I'm excited about this. And not coming, but also coming soon, is this, which I know I'm not new to this. I mean, it's not new. The neon neps have been around a while, so it's not like this is new. But I finally decided that I would get some. And the plan was to repeat this palette and do a brighter palette. But since I didn't have time, I lied. I wasted quite a bit. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to do the same palette on this base. But this base I already have in the minis. So I will be working on these after I come back from the festival. Not soon after, because immediately after I plan to vacate the premises. The area code, at least. The zip code, at a minimum. The state, ideally. the country, preferably. But yes, gonna come back after I get my cup filled and then get cracking on these items that I'm very excited about. And then the other thing I'm needing to dye is my linen, which I got it restocked. So I might hit that this weekend. It might make it to Sunkissed. We shall see. The goal is to not be dyeing yarn like 3 days before I'm supposed to be somewhere. I did not enjoy that feeling. But yeah, you've seen it. I hope you think it's as wonderful as I do, because I made it with love and I want it to become its best self on your shelf. And in case anyone has extra time and is interested in sample knitting, please message me. I don't have time. I only make unfinished objects. That's my main knitting. But on that note, I'm going to let you go. My phone battery is about to die, and I've pretty much beat the dead horse, or in this case, alpaca. I've beat this alpaca to death. So thanks for hanging in with me, and I'll see you next time.